He cheated on her, treated her badly, and she decided to deal with him by accusing him of SAing their little daughters. Lucy and Ken lived a quiet life with their two small girls, Mira and Lily. Their home was small, but it used to be full of laughter, bedtime songs, and soft morning kisses. But slowly, Lucy began to feel Ken pulling away. He came home late, avoided her questions, and stopped talking to her the way he used to. The warmth in their home began to fade. Lucy started noticing strange calls on Ken's phone. He would hide it any time she came close. The silence between them grew thick, like a wall they could not climb. Ken tried to act normal around the kids, but Lucy's eyes were always filled with suspicion. Every smile he gave felt like a lie to her. Lucy cried often, wondering what she had done wrong. She felt alone even when Ken was beside her. Her heart was heavy. Ken said nothing. He only became colder, more distant, and less patient. The love that once held them began to crumble. One night, Ken lost his temper and shouted at Lucy in front of the girls. His anger frightened everyone. It was the first time Lucy felt unsafe with him. The next morning, Ken acted like nothing happened, but Lucy never forgot the fear she felt in that moment. Ken's anger grew worse each week. He pushed Lucy during an argument and she hit the floor. Mira cried loudly, while Lily hugged her small teddy bear. Lucy looked at her daughters and made a silent promise. She would never let them grow up in fear. Tired of the pain, Lucy started opening up to Sharon, Ken's sister. She told Sharon about the abuse and the cheating. Sharon believed her and tried to comfort her. But Lucy's heart was burning with a darker desire to destroy Ken the way she felt he destroyed her. One day, Lucy told Sharon she wished Ken would feel the kind of pain she felt. The thought frightened Sharon, but Lucy held on to it. In her anger, Lucy began forming a plan that would change all their lives forever. Lucy sat with Mira and Lily, speaking softly. She told them that if anyone asked them about their father, they should say he touched them in a bad way. The girls were too young to understand, but they listened because they trusted their mother. Lucy told Sharon that Ken had harmed the kids. Sharon was shocked and confused, but Lucy showed fake tears and pain. She looked believable. Sharon agreed to help her protect the children, not knowing she was stepping into a lie. Lucy told neighbors. Sharon told friends. Soon, people started whispering behind Ken's back. Everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Ken felt something was wrong, but he didn't know what. The truth was growing like fire. Lucy made posts online, crying and claiming Ken had harmed the girls. The story went viral. People were angry. Thousands believed Lucy. Lucy woke up one morning to see her name everywhere, connected to a crime she didn't understand. Police arrived at the house. They arrested Ken as Mira and Lily watched. Ken cried out, begging them to believe him, but his voice was ignored. Mira ran after him, but Lucy pulled her back. The girls watched their father taken away in handcuffs. In jail, Ken sat alone. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. All he could think about were Mira and Lily. He wondered why his own wife would do this to him, but he still hoped everything was a misunderstanding. People insulted Ken online. They called him a monster and demanded punishment. His friends cut him off. His workplace suspended him. The whole world seemed ready to destroy him without proof. Lucy saw the attention, the sympathy, the flood of support. For the first time in months, she felt strong. She felt seen. But inside her heart, a quiet darkness was growing. Sharon started noticing holes in Lucy's story. Lucy kept changing small details. Something didn't feel right. But every time Sharon asked questions, Lucy became angry and emotional. Sharon stayed quiet, but her heart was uneasy. Investigators questioned Mira and Lily. Mira looked scared, confused. Lily kept staring at the door, wanting to go home. The little girls repeated Lucy's words, but their voices were unsure. During another interview, Mira hesitated. She played with her fingers and looked at the floor. The officers noticed her fear. One officer gently asked, "Where were you when Daddy was touching you? How did Daddy touch you? Where was Mommy when Daddy touched you?" Mira didn't answer, but something in her eyes changed. Ken prayed in his cell. He begged for truth to come out. Every memory of his girls gave him strength. He knew he was innocent, and he hoped someone, anyone, would listen. Experts examined the children. Doctors found no physical signs of harm. The case began to look suspicious. Investigators decided to question the girls again, this time with even more care. During a quiet moment, "Mira, darling, where was Mommy when Daddy was touching you?" One investigator asked calmly. Mira finally whispered the truth. "Mama told us to say it." "To say what?" The investigator asked again. "Mommy said we should tell anyone that asks us that Daddy touched us in a bad way." Her small voice broke the room. Lily nodded softly, holding her doll. The investigators froze. Everything changed in that single moment. Police confronted Sharon. She broke down and admitted she helped Lucy because she believed her. She had no idea it was a lie. The story shifted online. People who once supported Lucy began turning against her. Lucy was arrested. She screamed, saying everyone was lying, but her voice carried no power anymore. She watched from the police car as neighbors shook their heads and whispered. Ken walked out of jail, breathing fresh air. Tears ran down his face as Sharon hugged him and apologized. His world was broken, but he was free. Mira and Lily ran to Ken when they saw him. They held their legs tightly. He picked them up and cried into their hair. They didn't understand everything, but they knew their father was home. Ken moved into a new place with the girls. He tried to build a peaceful home again. Every night, he told them stories so they could sleep without fear. Lucy stood in court as her lies were exposed. The judge read the charges. She couldn't speak. Her own daughter's words became the key that locked her fate. Sharon visited Ken to ask for forgiveness. Ken forgave her because she was also misled. But Sharon carried guilt in her heart, knowing she helped spread a lie. Ken returned to work. People apologized, but the damage lingered. Still, he pushed forward for the sake of Mira and Lily. He wanted them to grow up strong and safe. Ken cooked breakfast, packed school bags, and read bedtime stories. The girls slowly felt normal again. The shadow of the past was still there, but it no longer controlled them. Lucy sat alone in her small prison room. She finally understood what her anger had done. She wished she could turn back time, but the truth was stronger than her regrets. Ken joined a support group for people who were falsely accused. Hearing other stories helped him heal. He decided he would never let pain silence him again. The girls grew happier with each passing month. They laughed more, played more, and slept peacefully. Their innocence returned, one day at a time. Ken learned that forgiveness was not about forgetting, but about letting go of the heavy weight. With each sunrise, he felt lighter, stronger, more hopeful. Ken watched Mira and Lily play in the yard. Their laughter filled the air, brighter than ever before. But deep down, he knew his family isn't complete without his wife. His life had been broken, but truth rebuilt it. And in that truth, he found peace again. Ken sat alone in his new home, watching the city lights twinkle through the floor-to-ceiling windows. He thought about everything that had happened: the lies, the accusations, the public shaming, and the heartache. He realized how fragile trust could be, how quickly love could be tested, and how easily pain could twist people into actions they might later regret. Despite everything, he felt a quiet strength rising within him. He thought about Lucy, his lovely wife, about the life they had built, and about the lessons the past had forced upon him. He knew he needed closure, not just for himself, but for the truth and for the memory of what their family once meant. Ken walked through the polished prison corridors, his heart heavy but steady. He had decided to confront Lucy, not with anger, but with the hope of understanding why she had done what she did. Every step echoed in his mind, reminding him of the betrayal and pain, yet also of the forgiveness he wanted to offer. When he saw Lucy sitting quietly in her small cell, the sight of her looking fragile and remorseful struck him deeply. She didn't rush to speak. The silence stretched, weighted with unspoken words and the tension of past hurt. Ken waited, prepared to listen without judgment. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling. She told Ken about the hurt she had felt when he had cheated and treated her badly. She admitted that in her anger and pain, she had wanted him to feel the same suffering she carried in her heart. Her confession was raw, honest, and full of regret. Lucy's eyes welled with tears as she promised that she would never act out in such a destructive way again. She expressed genuine remorse, acknowledging the damage she had caused and the innocence she had corrupted. For the first time, Ken saw the full human side of her suffering and understood her motives, however misguided. Ken took a deep breath and let the weight of his emotions settle. Despite everything, he forgave her. Not because what she did was acceptable, but because he recognized the pain behind it and wanted to let go of hatred. He equally apologized to her for hurting her. He dropped all charges and assured her that this chapter of their lives could be closed. Lucy's relief was palpable. She felt a burden lift off her shoulders as she realized she had a second chance. Ken's forgiveness allowed both of them to heal, and they began to imagine a future where understanding replaced bitterness. They knew rebuilding trust would take time, but the first step had been taken. Lucy was released, and together with Ken, they stepped out into the sunlight, the fresh air symbolizing a fresh start. Mira and Lily ran to them, laughter filling the air, and the family embraced, whole again. They walked toward their home, feeling the warmth of forgiveness and the hope of a life rebuilt. For the first time in years, Ken and Lucy felt peace. They had learned hard lessons about love, trust, and the dangers of unchecked anger. From that day on, they vowed to treat each other with respect, honesty, and care, living their lives fully and happily, stronger as a family than ever before.
Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.